Oh, this works. Hello, hello, hello. It's going to be a delayed sound here. And I signed myself up to do this live chat, but I don't hear any noise at all. And oh, this works. Hello, hello, hello. It's going to be a delayed sound here. And I signed myself up to do this live chat, but I don't hear any noise at all. And oh, this works. Hello, hello, hello. I can't do this. I'm going to have to exit. I don't know how this works, but anyways, I was going to go live and I just can't look at myself and see myself at the same time. So anyways, I do want to talk about, if I am live, I want to talk about, I'm going to do my own recording down here too. Record in the cloud, why not? So the most important thing that we talk about today is what's happening all around us. Public education has failed Black people. And the mere fact that they have the George Floyd trial that's happening for all Americans to watch. The reality is, what are we really watching and what do we really see? As an American citizen, I think we have the right to critique and be concerned about failed services. Yet and still, we really don't have the ability to analyze because everybody's working all the time as an young person or as an ill-prepared person. But when you see the system that is basically a wall against you, then what do you say? Because we are all required to pay public taxes and live in America and then have services that are mandatory for our children. And the mandatory services that are for children, well, how do we even ensure? And we've been denied the ability to just ensure that that's happening 24/7. It's not happening. So here we are in 2021 after George Floyd, Stephon Clark. I mean, you could just name the ones that were most heinous in our minds. And then they're saying, well, do we suffer from mental illness? I believe everybody who is in America, who's suffering the understanding of the inability to change the circumstances in which we live in is a real reality. And as the elected officials are unwilling to deal with the infrastructure, and we know that we have bridges that are so old that are just falling down, roads that need repair. And that's what the federal taxation system is supposed to be for. But yet and still, we should be charging people who run trucks on across the American highways a higher rate. Because even what they're running in trucks is amazing to me. As I seen that one African-American man who was hauling a load. He never even questioned what was in that load, but it was unfortunate that so many Hispanic people were in, I'm in a meeting with Zoom. It's my meeting. Anyways, so many Hispanic people were involved in coming to America, really, for free, with no obligations. I mean, that's what we have here. A lot of immigrants are here in America, and that's just so real. And what can we say about that? As immigrant children are eligible for all the services, just as we were when they released African Americans. We were eligible for all the services, not that the services were actually working for us. No, that is not it. What are we talking about? When we can't measure the maintenance of effort of the services that are happening for Black people across the nation. And then we can't talk about it. And then when you start talking about certain things, people cut you off. And I'm saying, wow, what is that? I thought I was an American citizen and had the right to freedom of speech and a freedom of presuming that the devices that I bought one day will work the same way the next day. And the programs that I download and pay for, that I'll be able to use them without any conflict. And I didn't ever think about how those programs would be following me around as I was purchasing them. But got to make sure that when you pay for something, you have the benefit for it. as this nation is all about the harvest, and you're part of the harvest, honey. The harvest looks like you and me. But when we have children, the harvest is our children, as we have to understand what the public school system actually is and what it does. It brings so much wealth to so many contracts and contractors, and who gets to determine who receives those contracts? I mean, because I don't believe it's an open bidding process. I mean, for so long, they've worked to keep us on the bottom, and is where we are today. And some of the heinous crimes you just can't imagine. But guess what? What should we say about any of it? Not sure. So until we understand what we're doing as American citizens and understand the importance in the vote, the criticalness of speaking out on failed services, as it is unacceptable to just throw something together that you have no demonstration of a maintenance of effort, and you're just going to create this program with one or two children or young people who are teaching in the high schools. Frightening enough. That's how they plan on, creating their solution, by allowing young people to come back to the high school and work with the young people. No oversight, no governance at all. I mean, the coordination of services has to do with having, Department of Health Services, a Department of Health Services with professionals in there to talk about coordinating mental health services and services for people with disabilities, and just services across the board. And the Department of Transportation to talk about just what you're doing, because it has to do with chemical air pollution and a whole lot of host of things that I just don't know. But when you have a school district and it serves the second largest nation of kids in the world, they have the fifth largest school district in the nation. And here we are talking about failed services for African American children. Yet we're not talking about it, are we? No, we're talking about who gets to be on the committee and what role they will play. And I don't have time for that. And I really don't care or have time for any committees. As individually, we stand alone in the world. It's our obligation to benefit. It is our obligation to put the work in. And, when you invest in yourself, it happens. Nipsey says, he had to grind all the time, but he left school in the 8th grade. But we have to talk about what's happening for the young people in the 8th grade, and the number of children that are in juvenile halls across this nation, and why are they in confinement, and the number of children who get caught up in accidental gun deaths because they don't even understand that the Westerns in death, and they've never even experienced grieving until they do. Grieving is a process. It's real. Okay, so we're talking about loss in America, but we can't establish family values because they don't really exist. So, in a nation where we all should be concerned about what's happening, I'm going to tell you, like, subscribe, and follow me on YouTube. Follow me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. But until we meet again, I say, and I'm on Anchor. Educate yourself, be where you wreck yourself, and that's a real reality. I was trying to figure out who was that coming to our house. That was no one coming here. Mm-hmm. But follow me and educate yourself, because right now is a critical time. There's money from the federal government to talk about learning loss. There's money to talk about the information and the data that local school districts didn't have. And there's money for juvenile justice programs, but I don't know what that looks like. And we need to understand that the outcomes of public services, when they're invested in a certain community, have to be measured. And if a state can't do it, then the federal government has an obligation to step in and provide that level of support. And that's what I'm waiting to see, because it's obvious that here in Nevada, it's been impossible to transition to equity and to allow all people to join in the capacity building in their own local communities. No, Black people have been locked and boxed out forever. That's why they don't have a Moulin Rouge here, and they don't have the Cotton Club, and they're not commanding. I mean, all the money that is brought into Las Vegas from Black performers because they have the ability to bring in the top. And then they pay taxes off the salaries that they pay these people to the federal government. But the resources coming back here to sustain our people are squandered, supplanted, and they openly talk about underfunding. Now that's supplanting is real, but when you could openly talk about it, I'm just trying to understand what world do we live in 2021? Because you can openly talk about, and then I read some of their legislation, and it starts off as acts of criminal activity, and I'm saying, wow, what is that? I don't know anymore. I'm going to tell you, we need to do a thorough investment and reinvestment in the public education system and understand that every mass shooter that was ever enrolled or engaged in the process of providing support to any individuals that were mentally disturbed that did the mass shootings in America, they had problems when they were growing up. Why didn't the public system even catch that? I never saw it. And because I never saw it, I can guarantee you it never happened. But each and every criminal mass shooting has been documented to have a person of mental illness. And that's what we have to concern ourselves with, especially when they train them to kill and then let them loose on society. What nation is this? Once again, we really need to ask ourselves in 2021. So I'll say like, subscribe, follow me on Anchor, subscribe on my YouTube channel and Facebook, follow me, because, we live in a world which is going to engage each one of us to have a higher thinking, to step outside the box and perhaps not trying to align with a community or a community organization, no, but stepping up to say, hey, this is so unfair. What can we do to change? Because I expect the elected official that's elected to represent me, in the long run. I have the right to freedom of speech, religion, and whatever in America in 2021. So have a great day. This is Darlene Anderson signing out.